Thank you for watching. This video is a sponsored ad by Factor 75. More about that later. It's 2025. What the heck? How did this happen? We're literally 25 years into the new millennia, and that's insane to think about. Anyways, as 2024 ends or ended, I want to pay homage to three albums that I enjoyed thoroughly and I highly recommend. I'm going to rank them 1 through 3 and give a little explanation of each song just to kind of get you to go listen to it maybe, and hopefully you go jam these albums. They deserve more recognition, I feel like, and these are my top 3 albums of 2024. So yeah, starting off at number 3, I'm gonna say Foxing's self-titled album. Oh my god, it's so great. I love it so much. I would say it's not for everybody. They even explain that in like a mission statement that they posted on their Instagram, which I think is super awesome because their last albums, hot take, were not my favorite. They were a little more on the commercial side, which isn't a bad thing, but it's not my favorite. So hearing this was a breath of fresh air in the sense of it being way more experimental and less commercialized. They definitely went down a rabbit hole of synthesizer and like shoegazy lo-fi pop sounds. So yeah, let's get into Foxing's new self-titled album that they released in 2024. It's their first self-titled release. Their first 2 records were pretty sad and had some elements of screaming, but this one kind of took that to a new level, I would say. So the first song in the Foxing album is Secret History. It starts out whiny with broken up lyrics with borderline spoken word interrupted by analog crackles and a massive wall of distortion and mood shifted vocals into a roaring, screaming, just landscape of music. So that one is a great song to like open up the album with. Then you got Hell 99 as the second track. It's shoegazy, post-punk instrumental, driving you into a very circus-like performance of crazy energetic licks. Then it descends into like a warm pillow of synthesis. I love that song in particular. It's on my like rotation constantly. Then in track 3, you got Spit. It's haunting vocals, driving through what seems like a hellish soundscape. They tend to do that a lot in this album. Distortion layered harmonies and octave shifted bass. It's really interesting. They did a lot of like experimental pedal distortion and not even just distortion, like a bunch of other just effects over their sounds, and it's really interesting. So go check it out. Into the Third song was already great. So song 4, you have Greyhound. And like I said, it's kind of lo-fi pop with this album. That's kind of what I would consider this record, is like lo-fi pop throughout. Because there's parts of it where it's super poppy and serene. And then it just becomes crazy experimental screaming, but in a good way, in a catchy way. So it's like pop for people who are really, really sad. Lo-fi poppy ballad that has very shrieking guitar tones, shrouds the song in what seems like snow and icicles. Like it seems like a really like cold and lonely song, and I think it would be pretty cool to die to. Like they have a lot of songs. If you haven't listened to Foxing already, they have great music to die to. Anyway, going into the 5th song, this is a pretty long album, so 5 songs in, you're already like invested, and hopefully, if you didn't make it that far, you go back and give it a try, because it's a pretty, like I said, experimental album. This is why I put it at 3, because in my opinion, It's one of my favorites because it's one of my favorite bands doing something important for themselves, and I can see that it's important to them, and I love the sound that they created with it because it's super authentic. But I know that's not going to be everybody's cup of tea on first, like, sit down. So, yeah, I highly recommend. We got song 5. It's called Cleaning. Very lowercase ambient soundscapes, like with synthesizers and things like that, accompanied by wailing, cathartic vocals. He does that a lot in this album. Depicted loneliness very well. Like I said, they really paint a picture of being sad and lonely. Connor Murphy's always been good at just kind of whispering some sad stuff into your ears. And then we go on to song 6, Barking. A great one. This one's really fun. It's like an 80s noir vibe. Throwback to early pop songs of that era, like super 80s. Again, like I said, they're doing synthesizer, but this one's more conventional now. Now it's not as experimental. They kind of went with like the framework of that 80s style, keeping a mellow vibe and low key sound throughout the song. So this one's really like listenable. If you're gonna show anybody a song, this one's the one to show people to like get them into this album, I would say. All right, that leads us into song 7, Kentucky McDonald's. This one's really creepy and uncanny intro. Very non-conventional way of starting a song. This one, it's funny, the contrast of that super, like, formulaic song into this weird, dissonant, non-conventional, then becomes a noise, almost like Scram's vocal performance over a synth-stained blast beat. It's weird. Ends with ethereal vocals fading out into angelic sound. It's like a crazy... they do a good job of that in this album too, just making a lot of noise and big soundscapes just for it to like end and like Connor like shrieking, always doing some weird stuff. Very interesting song. And then we go into song 8, which is Looks Like Nothing. Segue from the last song, descend into a dark and dreamy buildup of distortion. So it's cool to see that layering of listening to the album from beginning to end, because it goes from really chill to insane to like back to like a dreamy kind of lullaby sort of thing. So yeah, it builds up distortion and blooming drums that all break down into a very energetic meshing of painful wailing and heavy distorted melodies. It's very satisfying to listen to. 9. I know I said that Hell 99 is like one of my favorite songs, but Gratitude is my favorite song from this album because it's so catchy and it does a perfect job of what song number 6 is, but like for what I enjoy. It's less formulaic to the 80s style and more like an emo, like pop punk. It's interesting. So yeah, it's electronic blissfulness, retro video game background music catches your attention, leads you into a groovy bass line. Oh, it's so good. That is so satisfying, holding the song down. Yeah, the bass line in that song is so good. Most outstanding vocal performance, that is true too, because Connor has got a dynamic range in this song. Very dynamic and great use of falsetto. Catchy and singable lyrics accompanied by a perfect pocket beat that transforms into post-hardcore goodness. Minimal solo with big grandiose payoff for a vivacious outro. Synthy and emo in the perfect way. Man, I should have just trusted my own writing because that's like the perfect explanation for it. By the way, yeah, I'm reading from a little script of blurbs that I wrote as I listened to the song at the time. So, yeah, I was just gushing about that song. So definitely check out Gratitude, personal favorite. Getting towards the latter end of this album now. This is song 10, Dead Cat. It's a swing-like, almost classical sounding with shrieking vocals over a dissonant piano. Gives outsider music vibes, kind of like Daniel Johnston-y, because it's like super like dissonant, beautiful and ugly at the same time. Again, that lo-fi pop sound that I was explaining reminds me of Jack Stauber too. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard lo-fi pop by Jack Stauber, who I think coined and invented that genre. This kind of reminds me of it, but in a more grungy and like scary sound. It's more theatrical and fantastical, droning. Check it out, Dead Cat. That one leads into song 11, Dead Internet. It's a chiptune jam, arpeggiating while Connor rambles into a schizo compulsion of piercing riffs with creepy and almost gothic sounding piano tones. Very interesting and creepy, so if you like that gothic sound, go check that one out. Song 12, Hall of Frozen Heads. New take on the old sound, so it's like reminiscent of Albatross, but in their new weird, creepy, dissonant sound, implementing the old style. So it's like a slow burn throughout the entire song, paying homage to their roots, which I personally like. Right before the album ends too, so that ends the album into like an outro of song 13, Crybaby. The final, most moody song to add a very sad bow on top of the gift of this album we received. An amazing parting gift from the amazing artist, which I love to hear a piece of them in the music. It's super personal. And again, like I said, when they posted that mission statement, I was like, I can't wait to listen to this. This is album 3 of my top 3, coming in at an overall 8 out of 10 experience. Like, the re-listening of it, it's kind of hard. There's only a couple songs to go back and like actually jam out to, but there are points of the album that are super satisfying to listen to in succession. But listening it from beginning to end can be very taxing because it is a sad and like droning album. So definitely a mood, but not for like a party and stuff. So I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Super great album though. Still recommend. One of the greatest of 2024. Congrats to Foxing for putting out this album. I know y'all guys were super excited for it, and I was way more excited to receive it. So thank you guys for that. Oh, that leads us into album 2 of 2024. Another one of my personal favorite bands, so might be biased. This whole list might be biased, but I'm just making it because I think people need to go listen to these albums more. So, my top 2 of 2024 is Blue Garden by Delta Sleep. Oh, I love how much more recognition they're getting these days because they deserve it. They're getting on bigger bills and playing bigger shows because they're so good. I love them so much. Thank God. I've seen them so many times. If I can find the photo of me cheesing with the lead singer, I was like, it was so awesome. I've seen them several times. I own several of their records, and I love them. So anyway, Blue Garden. First song, Dawn. Very cute, wholesome sounding introduction with ambient chimp tunes. Chimp tunes? With ambient chip tunes and peaceful chanting lyrics. It leads into song 2, which is Slow Burn. Segue into a headbanging melody driven sonnet with the occasional build up for a very satisfying wall of sound. These songs are a lot of like a palette like gauging, like it's getting you ready. It's getting you ready for what's to come. Then you get into song 3, The Distance. Up the tempo and let the riffs fly. Very dancey, almost sounds like Latin influenced. It has island vibes, kind of like their Fantastic Planet or Planet Fantastic. I can't remember the name or whatever. Planet Fantastic. Yeah, it has island sounding vibes, like worldy music that really paint a picture of like a good date song, I guess. I could see this being like in the background of a date or something like that. I always like picture scenarios of these songs going to, I guess, because of movies or whatever. But anyway, that goes into song 4, Toe Stepper. Builds a lot of anticipation in a great way by walking on eggshells, but like in the best way before erupting into beautiful angelic progression. The drum mix on this one is like chef's kiss. It's so good. I really like how this one's mixed and produced. They're so good at like the production, because sometimes I hate when albums sound overly produced. This band produces perfectly. Like, it sounds raunchy when it needs to, and then it sounds clean when it needs to. So that's why I'm saying they're good at painting a landscape. This album is so satisfying to listen to from beginning to end because of their little segues that like add a little bit of flavor to the next song. So yeah, you have from Toe Stepper into song 5, which is Light, prelude with light strums of chords like going to in the next song. So it's kind of a prelude giving you a taste of what the next song's going to be for like a couple seconds. Then song 6 is Glow, slow ballad with lullaby sounding instruments, leans into a dissonant wonderland for a spell, and it's just so interesting to hear all the like chords and time signatures they choose. Really good song. That's one of my favorites, is Glow. Segue into song 7, Illuminator, where the album begins to experiment a bit more with melodies, tossing in bit crushed ambience with punchy progressions. Then you get into song 8, Figure in the Dark. Is so good. Upbeat and very fun. This one's really good to like show your homies. This whole album's great to show your friends, but this one particularly has got like anime opener vibes. It's dynamic in its mood shifts, so it's like a story the entire time. Very singable lyrics too, so it's a good one to have all your homies like chanting and stuff like that. That one goes into song 9. It's like SL blank K blank ers, which I think it means slackers. I'm hoping that's what it means. Yeah, this is where I found out that their singer has Mark Hoppus syndrome. He sounds exactly like him in this song, but it's very punky. I think that's why it reminded me of it. It's their like first time I can ever think of them doing like a punk song. It's got killer licks, changes into a bit more of a groovy vibe, which is really interesting for them. Then you go into song 10, which is Night. It's a quick little prelude of a very calming tone to change the pacing from that really punky, groovy stuff that was going on earlier into the final act of the album. Because you had 2 more coming into song 11, Akasa. Mathy, dreamy goodness, kind of what they're known for. It goes back to that like camp adventure vibe with the dissonant overtone, causing a little bit of unease, but like in a satisfying way to wrap up the song with perfect energy. Then you get into song 12, the last song, Sun Chaser. Starts very slow and somber with like tender and intimate lyrics. I feel like almost a thank you note to the listener. I'm sure it is. It feels really like sweet the entire time. But then it erupts into a massive sonic soundscape that envelops you into a glorious outro and it just coddles you, safely lands you back into reality, feeling like a Greek god, just rejuvenated from that song. It's so good to listen to. The outro where they're just like, yeah, like yelling. I love that. It reminds me of Old Soul from their, again, Fantastic Planet Fantastic. Whatever, that album is so good. That's what it reminds me of. So yeah, that's my number 2 for 2024. Blue Garden by Delta Sleep. The overall album, I'll give a 9 out of 10 because it's just so re-listenable. And you can show this to all your friends, and I'm sure they'll find a bunch of songs to just enjoy from this. So it's kind of like a good one to vibe to. I can see this being a summer vibe or a winter vibe. I could just see it being a cool snow day song, or I could see it being like a cool in the evening having fun with your friends. Just a cool vibe. And there's like karaoke material in here. Just a really good album. 9 out of 10. Please go check it out. Blue Garden by Delta Sleep. One of my favorite bands and currently one of my favorite albums. Yeah, so my number 1 of 2024, top album of 2024, the most highly recommend, 10 out of 10, must listen to, in my opinion, in my biased opinion, is There Goes the Dream by Modern Color. Yeah, I know. Yeah, There Goes the Dream by Modern Color. It's a great album. I love this band. They're like the new Title Fight. I hope that's not a bad thing to say. I hope they don't take offense to that if they ever see this. I hope they see this. But don't take offense to that because I love Title Fight. They're legends. You guys are legends too. I've met them. I'm pretty sure they don't remember, but it was so, yeah. Love them. Love their performance. Love all of their albums. This one is my favorite current album by them. Out of everything they've put out, this is my favorite album. 100% re-listen rate. Show to everybody. This one is like going to be the next big thing. I feel like it's going to put them out there a lot more. Not to say that they weren't recognized already, but this is going to give them a bigger platform for sure. So yeah, you start out with song 1, Dancing Waters Club. The nice litmus test to encapsulate what the album has in store. It's kind of like just a little prelude. You get into song 2, which is Golden Sands. Super poppy and shoegaze, of course, because it's Modern Color. But it's got a very groovy instrumental with ethereal vocals. And they tend to do that a lot, like drony ethereal vocals. Almost like just talking at times. So song 3, this is one of my favorite. Like, the bass line is so good. It's a personal fave. Good balance of energy, technicality, well-rounded. The bass line, like I said, is just super groovy and punchy. Check that one out for sure, in my opinion. It's highly recommend. Then you got song 4, Beacon House. This one's interesting. It's like dreamy and droning. It's got a glum vibe with like catchy chorus and stuff. If you like shoegaze, this one's the song for sure. It's got like that 80s shoegaze vibe. Then you go into song 5, Star 9200. This one's really cool. It's got that classic sound with their modern twist in fortifying the formula. It's the Modern Color, modern twist. It's my single recommendation, honestly. Like, Fortress is my personal fave, but this one, I feel like if I was submitting it to, like, radio stations, this would be the song that you show them to be like, kids are gonna love this. So, yeah. Go into song 6, Big Question. It's another favorite. I wrote that on a lot of these because it says another favorite. Yeah, so that's probably why it's a 10 out of 10, because a lot of them are my favorite. Very sassy, emo, catchy, pop punk, fuck it vibes. Almost like a surf rocky, which is cool to hear them. They're always like really melodramatic and like, I don't know, they always got this weird, almost ethereal sound going all the time. So to hear in this album is really fresh for them to go almost pop punky in a lot of areas. And this one being like a surf rocky song, I thought was really cool because you don't expect it. In the middle of this album, that's the last thing I expected. So I was like, whoa, really took a little palate cleanser from what I was hearing. It's a good, well put together album too. Like, you can listen to it from beginning to end because it's like a different playlist. Yeah, that one's really cool. Go into song 7, Where's Kevin? This one's easy going, head nodding goodness. You can just kind of put this in the background, and I'm sure no one would complain. You can kind of just nod your head to this one really good. It's really replayable too. So that leads you into song 8. Good neighbor, noodly riffs, very dynamic sound and solid harmonies. Like, these songs don't need all these grandiose like explanations because they're just so like good and playable. Like, this is like Descendants shit. Like, they start, this is a new sound for them in my opinion, because there was a point where they were putting out songs and it started becoming, I don't want to say like formulaic, but they were going a route where I was kind of like, not excited, if I'm being completely honest. No offense to anybody, but it just got to a point where I was like, they're just doing the same thing. So this is not the same thing. They went a completely different route, and I really appreciate how they went. So they went from being one of my favorite bands already to like my current favorite band again. I mean, there was a point where they were like my current favorite band, and then again, like I said, they got very like in this formula for a second, and I heard a single here and there that I liked, but it wasn't my favorite sounding. And then kind of made me like hesitant to hear this album. So when I heard all of this, I was like, what is going on? This is not what I was expecting at all. So that's pretty cool. Go down to song 9, Paseo del Mar. I hope I'm not butchering that. Paseo del Mar. Paseo del Mar. Paseo del Mar. It's the best vocal performance on the entire album. Like, throughout the entire album, like I said, is being very melodrome, like monotoned at times, but not in a bad way. I like it. I mean, as you can hear from my voice, I'm monotone, but he does a great job of showing how dynamic his timbre is in this, which I really liked. And it's instrumental. Like, it's one of the best instrumental performances on the album too. So it's got like that perfect balance of catchy, and there's a signature sound of them, like, and then they put their signature sound on what a catchy formula is today. So I really like it. This is something I could see myself skating to a lot. So it's a good song. Now we're getting towards the end of the album. This is song 10, Night Swim. Very hypnotic interlude to break up the soundscape from what was going on, from like the energetic stuff. Now the album's like starting to wind down into its final act. It's just a little prelude to give you a taste of what the last song is. So the last song is cool because they do an album name drop. It's There Goes the Dream. It's the title track to the album, There Goes the Dream. Super rippy riffs, like it's just heavy bellowing drums, like everything's catchy the entire time. It just grabs you by the guts, and it's super fun to jam to. The chorus is very emotional. It's got that head nod ability, and it gives you a nod back to like their past albums, because it's kind of got that like screaming over the top, like it gets gnarly, and I love this song. Again, there's a lot of songs that I put personal fave. So this is my top 3 albums of 2024. I know we're already a week into 2025, but I wrapped it up. Had to make sure that these were the ones, and they definitely were. This, and you made it to the end. I really appreciate you. Like, subscribe, comment, do all that stuff. Tell me what your favorite albums of 2024 were. I would love to hear them. And let's share what our favorite albums of 2025 are later. I'm going to be doing more review stuff like this. So I'm going to be listening to a lot more music that I don't. I do a podcast over on DoubleDawgDareProductions every other Wednesday. We post it and we go live on my Twitch. All the links are down below. Make sure to follow and do all that stuff, because we're doing a lot right now, and I really hope you guys are in for it. So thank you guys. I love you. Ah! So thanks again for watching. This video is sponsored by Factor 75. It's a meal kit curated by chefs, amazing food, ready to eat meals that are never frozen. You just pop them into the microwave for 3 minutes and then you have a gourmet meal ready for you. Use the link below to get 50% off your first order and free shipping. Thanks again for sponsoring. Say thanks, Mimi. Tiki tiki tiki. Thank you guys again. We love you guys. Click the link and we hope to get your support. Say bye, Mimi. Tiki tiki tiki.